right, thank you for taking this most delightful trek with us. This is our first show for the new year. So, Happy New Year's to all of you all. All right, so as we think about this particular show, a big part of this episode is really truly all about friendships. And it got me thinking and reflecting about some of my friendships in the past. I've had some great friendships. I've had some friendships that didn't stand the test of time. I recall a time when I was a sophomore in college, and a friend of mine wanted to visit his girlfriend at the neighboring college, which was basically across town. Out of all of our friends, I was probably the most experienced when it comes to driving, but this particular friend was probably the least experienced driver out of all of us. Of course, he had a driver's license. So after we made our way to the university, and it was the end of the night, we weren't drinking or anything like that, so no one was inebriated. Um, we were on our way back. He was supposed to veer off into a turning lane. That turning lane had a median that is basically made out of concrete. Instead of going all the way to the left, he drove straight over the concrete. And by doing that, what he did, he basically messed up my motor. All right. So we made it back to the campus. Um, and at that point, the car stopped. And as soon as the car stopped, we could smell the oil. Right. So obviously, I'm in college. I didn't have a lot of money. The car just kind of sat there until I got some money. I was able to, bring it to the shop. I later told him, I'm talking about like a week later, I later told him, hey, look, there's some damage to the car. What my friend did at that point was he basically said, that ain't got nothing to do with me. It's been a week since all of that happened. And so, like in that moment, it was just like, oh, wow. You know what I'm saying? Like in my head, this is what I expected my friend to say. I expected my friend to just basically say, you know what, I can't help you. I don't have the money, but perhaps there's something I can do to help you. That's what I was expecting him to do. I literally wasn't expecting money from him. I wanted him to show some remorse. I wanted him to, something. He wasn't able to give me that.
Some acknowledgement.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so what I realized from that encounter is that, a friend shows up for you, right? It doesn't really matter what the situation is. They show up. Whether you're right, you're wrong, they show up. If you're wrong, they might tell you you're wrong. If you're right, of course, they're gonna be there. But a friend shows up. All right. So I don't know if you all have any thoughts about that, your own relationships and friendships, especially as it relates to this particular episode.
I'm gonna let Jason take this one.
I'm sorry?
I'm gonna let Jason take this one.
No, I would say I agree 100% on that. I mean, that's even like a friend in your spouse as well, for that same reason. But yeah, that dude, that right there, let you know that dude had to go. He was not your friend. But like we were talking about earlier, sometimes you have to have those friendships that just last forever, no matter what. I've had friends I haven't talked to in a couple of years, and we'll just pick up the phone and be like it was yesterday. Some of the people from childhood, if they last in your life 30 years, it kind of means something.
William?
Honestly, it takes intense situations to find out who your real friends are.
Yeah.
And all of 2021 basically showed me who my real friends were and who weren't. And it puts you to the test. And it's true, whether you're right or whether you're wrong, because I've even had other people tell me, hey, Will, if you were wrong, I would tell you were wrong, but I would still be there for you. Now, I might not be there after that, but they would still acknowledge. Either way, there's still some form of acknowledgement, So, deuces to him. But basically, what we're going to get into today. Oh, let's just get introductions out the way. I'm William Walford. I'm the second youngest Trekkie on this show. I was the youngest until Robin kindly took my place, so I'm kind of still a little antsy about that. But in the I'm been Trekkie since I was born, and today we're going to have my friends Jermaine Watson over here and Jason McCammon. Nice to meet you, man. How you doing?
Nice to meet you too. I'm new to the show. Thanks for having me.
Welcome. We're so glad to have you here today. Thank you so much. So, Section 31, at least the theories behind it, because it is like the most. I don't even know what to call it. It's just like you can speculate about literally anything and everything. But we will be going over some of the last few episodes of Enterprise. Well, Star Trek Enterprise. We don't call it just Enterprise anymore. They changed that. But
they changed that.
Yeah, they changed that when we're like, what is this? What's that? Who? Season 4, episode 20 and 21. The first one being Demon, the second one being Terra Prime. In this particular episode, we have, well, to give you the rundown of it, we have a group of xenophobes, which are part of this institution called Terra Prime, which help, I won't say birth or conceive, but genetically create this baby that belongs to Subcommander T'Pol and Charles Tucker III, aka Trek.
They created just to show you how horrible it is.
Just to show you how horrible it is. And I said, baby, if you want to see how horrible a baby is, do that between a Klingon and an Andorian. Then you have an ugly ass baby. Now that's an ugly baby. like you sure is ugly.
A Tellarite and a Kardashian.
A Tellarite.
You're right about that.
Oh, Tellarite, a Kardashian. You better believe, because that's just ew. You know, to each their own how they want to do it. But I'm just saying, if they wanted to go, they remind me of another certain group of people who shall remain nameless today, and when they try to do certain protests and riots and all hell and high water, they do it in the most stupid ways. It's just like, if you really want to make an impact, do it this way. But no, now you have this beautiful Elizabeth, who's absolutely a cute, gorgeous baby, didn't cry throughout the whole show. That was a trained baby. That was a trained baby. I'm like, wow. Like, well, anyway, but all that has happened. You know, Enterprise always comes and saves the day, you know, by tailing a meteor into Mars and all that other stuff. But that's not the point of today's episode. What we're getting into is the subtlety of Section 31, or what could be interpreted as Section 31 for both these episodes, when Reed meets with, what's his name, Jermaine?
Harris.
Oh, he said Jermaine.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Which is basically our personal Sloan for Enterprise. Just in this tight leather black suit. Like, I'm sorry, the first time I saw him, I thought, bruh, they still do that in the late 21st century? I thought y'all would have kind of grew out of that by now.
The black don't get old. The black just doesn't get
I mean,
old.
it's the black is one thing. It's just leather. It was so shiny. It was pitch black when they met, and it was still shiny. I was like, what?
Well, they had to let you know what was going on. You know
oh, they let me know, all right.
Right.
But basically, that is what we will be going into today. What is going on with Section 31? What is Section 31? If you never saw any other Trek episode, what is Section 31 if you saw this for the first time? Because they didn't actually say Section 31. Reed just said your section.
Well, actually, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know if it was the first episode. I don't know if it was in Demons or in Terra Prime. But Reed made a slip. He said Section 13. He didn't say Section 31. He said Section 13.
I thought he said your section.
No, he did at one point, and then later he came back and he said Section 13. So that was something the editors didn't catch.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look for that, because it's not like that was the first time that's been on there. Like,
I clearly
it was
missed that.
around since then.
Yeah. Just a little, whatever. All right.
It wasn't like it was a smaller part of this show.
No doubt.
Right? It wasn't the A plot. It wasn't the B plot. It was like a C or D plot. But it was just something that had to happen to continue the story.
Right.
Which is it's part of an over-evolving story of everything else if you know Star Trek, which makes it a lot more interesting. Even though it was a small part of the show. But yeah, I kind of like Sloan better than Harris just because they do a little more cloak and dagger with him. He's a little more sneaky or whatever. But, when you see Harris show up, you also feel like, oh, man, okay, what's going to happen with this dude? What's he going to actually do?
So, that's an excellent question. Can we compare and contrast the characters of Sloan and Harris? Compare and contrast the characters of Sloan and Harris.
I mean,
it's hard to.
They're both white dudes.
It's so hard to only because they gave Sloan so much more to do.
They both like leather.
They both like leather. They both like to be all like they like to stand in the dark. But
that's their uniform. Their uniform is just leather, huh?
Yeah, Sloan will just show up at your party, like when you just be standing in the corner. It's like, what you doing here?
Exactly. He was himself very insidious. He would insert himself into all types of situations, whereas Harris
was like a gangster.
Background figure. Like he's like you always see him in the shadows, right? So very clandestine. So remember, Enterprise in this whole storyline happens way before Deep Space Nine. So Harris had to have been a figure or Section 31 had to have been something that was relatively new, right?
Honestly, Section 31 at the time came off as like a CIA intelligence thing. They didn't actually do anything. Because when I watched it, I was like, if Section 31 is supposed to be this group that's supposed to protect the Federation at all costs, then why aren't y'all doing anything about it? Well, probably at that time, they were more intelligence-based than they were operation-based.
And I think that, first of all, I think Section 31 has been around since Starfleet started. It was not new. I think it was something that was created for this sort of. Go ahead.
No. I want you to finish your thought. I just wanted y'all to know that I'm waiting.
I think it was this little pocket of the organization that was created for that reason, because Article 14, Section 31 is where it comes from, and that's in the original chronicles of Starfleet, right? Mm-hmm. And that's where that comes from. So it was there. How it evolved and changed and moved changed over time. Sometimes it's more espionage. Sometimes it's a little more devious. So depending on what series you're talking about, you're going to get a slightly different Section 31. Sometimes it's going to be more popular and people are going to know about them. Sometimes it's going to be more covert and people like, who is that?
Mm-hmm. I just want to. So according to Sloan in Deep Space Nine, what he originally said, and that was something that Andy and I talked about ad nauseum. He repeatedly, meaning Sloan, repeatedly said the Federation Charter. This is Section 31 of the Federation Charter. And so what we learned from Enterprise is, and we always knew it, Federation didn't exist.
Technically didn't exist. Yeah.
Didn't exist.
Right. Starfleet
so
existed. Starfleet
right.
existed, but the Federation did not.
Right. And so why even then they were calling themselves Section 31?
Or 13.
Or 13.
So here's the thing, because I just said, from what you said of Federation, and I said Starfleet. So is Section 31 part of Starfleet, or is Section 31 part of the Federation?
Both.
Both, because it's part of the Federation Charter.
Both.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. They worked their way into the Federation.
Okay.
But they've been around since, well, they never actually said. We'll find out probably with the new Section 31 show that's coming out in the coming years. But, right? We're just going to, Michelle,
right.
Yo, please be the one to go back in time to start it all.
Right.
Take Chris Pike with you.
What time period are they going to be in?
We don't know. I'm hoping that she time jumps between different... If she does that, and we see a little bit of everything,
wow,
yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm hoping for. What I'm hoping for.
And then she's like low key Section 31 and a temporal agent at the same time, and she gets the time jump, and we see every show like that we've seen in the last 50 years. That will be the best Trek show in all of freaking history.
or to
Right.
even explain some things that we know about because they kind of sort of talked about it, but they never fleshed it out. Like it would be interesting to know like certain things about the backstory. Like we're learning more about the Romulans now than we've ever learned about the Romulans. You know what I'm saying? From Picard and
TNG.
actually from Discovery.
From Discovery.
Yeah, really Navarre.
Oh yeah.
Navarre.
Now we're doing the Navarre Romulan.
Yeah. So I just think that all of that would be fascinating. You know, to learn more about the Romulan neutral zone and all that. You know, like how did that really truly get started, or the peace accords that they signed, which basically said the Federation can't explore cloaking devices.
But Section 31 can.
Section 31 said we don't give a damn. We don't care.
We don't care. Like, what if Section 31 was behind every peace treaty, every agreement? Because if their job really is to protect the Federation at all costs, that means they were willing to completely obliterate, and I can't say I blame them, the founders, and use Odo as the vessel, as the carrier, to literally kill his family, and almost worked, you know, because Odo had to come to terms. Well, the only thing Odo hated was just being used, but he understood, you know, and it's like, how far will it go? What other if you were willing to do that in a war, you're willing to kill an entire race. You're willing, like that one dude did in TNG when they killed his wife. He just killed everybody. He pulled an Anakin Skywalker on all of them and just killed them all. Like, he said, not just the women, but the children too.
Kill them all.
Kill them all. Like.
It's interesting. They never revisit characters like that, but yeah, I mean, well. In Discovery, Starfleet was going to destroy the whole Klingon homeworld. That's sort of genocide as well.
They were ready.
They were ready. So, but what they don't know, I mean, the Klingons have kept the Romulans sort of at bay, though. So who knows how that would have turned out. The Klingons being there right next to Romulan territory is a big reason why the Romulans have not taken over the Alpha Quadrant.
Oh, yeah.
Good what if?
Because they cannot stand against the Klingons and the Federation.
Right. Can't do it. So I found it interesting that they used Peter Welling in this story. To play Paxton, as well as in the Calvin universe to play Marcus, which is a Section 31 sort of connection.
You know what? You're new here, so I'm going to let you have that one because you literally stole the biggest point I was going to make.
Really? Oh, my bad.
No, you good because this is your first time, so I'm going to let you finish that. You there you are. You can literally have it, like, because I was like, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, I haven't even thought about it that much, but I have thought about it, and I was like...
They're both... Well, okay. Well, Admiral Marcus is in Section 31, whereas this freak in Enterprise is part of Terra Prime, who's being observed by Section 31.
Yeah. It's a weird connection. It's like one of those connections where... Oh, well, we're just making up a connection, but there's still something weird.
But you can say you could say no, because I'm gonna add to it. Just so I can have a little say. You could say that in the Kelvin universe, that could be his son or his grandson.
Or yeah.
You know, because you know that they might be in that family line. You never really know. But that was a brilliant point. I ain't gonna lie, great minds. Look at Jermaine's face of approval. I ain't studying you.
What? I guess like I noticed it right off, but I was just like, he's just a character who, he's just an actor who likes to play in Star Trek. So I didn't think of it as a connection, but yeah. Yeah, because I remember thinking as I was watching it, I was just like, even his character. Yes, he's a xenophobe, but I was just like, dog, what if he's actually part of Section 31? Like,
RoboCop started Section 31.
Said it again.
That RoboCop started Section 31.
He did it again. He took my point.
I'm just gonna stop talking here.
You know what?
Yeah, no, it was just uncanny to me that he was playing that particular role, and when Harris, the character, came and was talking to Malcolm, that was one thing that I noticed about Harris. Harris always anticipated what people wanted and needed. Because you remember, even in Demons, Malcolm was coming to him, and he was asking Harris questions, and then finally Harris just gave him the information that Harris knew he wanted. And then in Terra Prime, like, he just gave
it was just right there in his hand.
Yeah,
he didn't go get it.
I mean, he played 10 questions with him. He's just like, how would you be sure I'd help?
He did, but he anticipated it, and so it made me think, I wonder if this guy is some rogue element of Section 31. That's what I thought, honestly.
Honestly, Section 31 has a way of setting things up so that way they can move the chess pieces how they want. Right? Now, I'm not saying Section 31 is responsible for Elizabeth. I'm not saying that. But I am saying they took advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. They would take advantage of. That's what they would do.
Because they don't recruit. Just what we've learned throughout all of especially with Bashir, is that when Section 31 comes, they come in brute force, and when they come, they only come for specific people they want to recruit. Very specific people. Very specific.
Yeah, but one thing that's kind of the same between Bashir and Malcolm Reed is both of them are very loyal people. So well, first of all, with Malcolm, they figured once they got him, that he would be loyal and do his job no matter what they said. So he was forced out to make a decision. Mm-hmm. But like even Bashir is like he's a very moral person. So it's odd for them to actually pick him, or is that like a big reach for them to say, hey, if we can get this guy, then we could do a lot of work.
Well, let me ask this question, a quick question. Is Malcolm actually in or out of Section 31? Because you remember, Bashir was just like, I don't want to have anything to do with you. But Sloan came back, and he still asked.
This is what I think. I think, I'm gonna say yes. He's in Section 31, and here's why. Because if Enterprise had been allowed to continue, I think we would have seen a lot more development in Section 31. Not just in Starfleet, but how it now looks with the new Federation Charter. Because that is something that's very interesting. How much more freedom, how much more power do they have? And will it be minds like Lieutenant Reed, probably Commander Reed at this point, to help them see through Section 31? He might be, I can see his character being like the moral compass of it all, and then when he dies and stuff, and it goes on into Kirk's phase, they go back to hell and high water, because it's like, whatever. I mean, he's the guy that invented Red Alert. I'd probably recruit him too. Like, I don't know why he thought Read Alert is a little self-centered, but
I love that episode. Actually, Enterprise has so many great introductions into lore, actually, with the Red Alert and just everything.
Or the translator.
I'm sitting here going like, well, yeah. Yeah. I didn't even notice the Universal Translator until this episode. I was like, wait, that's right. Because
you've been working on that for 4 years?
She's been working on that for 4 years. Right. Now, here's the thing. At this point, they are trying to wrap everything up because they know the show is about to end. They're trying to wrap it all up. Hey, where did the Universal Translator come from? Transported to, the Borg, all of that. They're trying to wrap it all up, which is, I have a unpopular bias against Trek fans for this reason, where if you, pardon my French, shit on a show, you're gonna get an ending you don't want to get. So
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I mean, there was a lot of different. It wasn't just the fans. It was other things happening.
Well, and a lot of things happen in the background too. Yeah.
But yeah, but that's why you get the last. These are the voyages. What's the last episode?
That was it.
That's it.
That's the final one. Yeah.
Which was terrible.
Yes.
It's like it's just Jonathan Frakes nostalgia. Let's just throw him in that episode and walk around and say the Federation is created. So that was kind of throwaway.
Honestly,
okay. So
honestly.
I have a different opinion. Okay, so I don't like the fact that Trip died. I really don't. But
He
I
shouldn't
think
have
what
died.
they were trying. What I think they were trying to do is I think that they were trying. They were trying to link TNG, which was heavily popular, to Enterprise, and by saying, "Hey, look, kind of like to your point, Will. Look at what you've done. We have linked these two different shows together, and they're saying this show, Enterprise, is truly important. Yeah, we wrapped up this last season. It was really about 3 different seasons jam-packed, right? Because that last season had about 3 different arcs. And so that I think they were trying to tie a bow as neatly as they could, even though it didn't make sense. And I think for the emotional appeal, they added the fact that Trip died.
They literally pulled a Brother Benny on the show. They made it all, even though it's history, and by that point we know everyone is dead to dust. We know that. That's what, you know. It's literally 200 years before TNG, and that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, that's fine. But they literally gave the original ending of Deep Space Nine over to Enterprise. If you think about it,
That's the original ending of Deep Space Nine.
the original ending of Deep Space Nine was that Brother Benny was going to wake up and it was all going to be a dream.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't know that. I don't like that. I don't like dreams. I don't like.
Right.
Dreams.
Well, in this
Oh,
case,
that's why he's
in
my
this
age.
case,
He used to watch Dallas, huh?
in this case,
Yeah.
it was the holodeck. Now, the reason I've learned to accept it is because in Relics, where you see Scotty come back, you see the bridge of the Enterprise Constitution class on the holodeck.
Great episode.
It was a
That was
great
great
episode.
and
It was a great episode, and you could see that they were trying to this is not far fetched. You know, they could actually do this, and it's true. Which is why I don't have a problem with These Other Voyages, because any show with Marina Sirtis is great to me. But I don't care. You know, I'm sorry, but you know, but yeah. So that's kind of thing that you get. But back to the Section 31, because we don't want to stray too much off topic.
Right.
All right. Next question. Big question. Big question of the night. Question of the night. Is Section 31 even necessary? Jason.
Is this a yes or no question?
Yes or no with elaboration. Yes or no with elaboration.
I would say yes because of you have to have some type of balances with the Tal Shiar, affinity and order, and all that's going on. First of all, I don't know if Gene Roddenberry would be down with it.
No, he did not like the idea of it.
I doubt it.
But every once in a while, if it gets too hard, you got to have someone somewhere that could just push that bar somewhere. The problem is who's in control of that and how far can it be pushed. And that's something that you have to. Are there any checks and balances in that? But as a whole, I think it's probably something that you need to have it.
William?
Look, okay, I'm going to ask this question, and you already know what my answer is going to be.
I don't know what your answer is going to be.
No, when I ask the question, you'll probably figure it out.
Okay.
Back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, our prime universe here, we have the Civil Rights Movement. We have the creation of the Black Panthers. Can you, in your own words, Jason, from what you might have seen and heard, tell me the difference between those two.
Between the Black Panthers and Section 31?
No, no, and the civil rights movement of the 50s.
I mean, the Black Panthers were they were a part of the movement.
Can you explain their role?
I'm sorry, you cut out. Explain the what?
Can you explain their role?
Their role was empowerment, number one. First of all, to let black people know that they had power and rights, but also to let white people know that black people had power and rights. They also were a beacon of information so that we had the correct information about certain people, certain organizations, about the government. How they obtained all that information, I don't know. They are not somebody who can be compared to something like the KKK. They're like, I hate that comparison.
Yeah, we're not even talking about them. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, that's what I would say. I mean, they were.
I think that as far as like the early days of Section 31, I think it can be comparable to Black Panthers because they were both needed, in my opinion. Because you kind of described to me as far as like information based, as far as making yourself known and pride and protecting what matters. Because even though Section 31 didn't really, well, to what we know and lore, doesn't really have much to do with Elizabeth, they had the information and gave it to Reed because they anticipated that he needed it and kind of just described it. So my answer is, just like we needed that, we need Section 31. As far as Section 31 in its early days, I'm not comparing the Black Panthers to what we know it in Deep Space Nine, but as far as like what it is in its early days while Reed was there.
I think the only difference is that it comes from the top down, though. Maybe they're doing the same roles, but it's coming from the top down, like it's coming actually from Starfleet,
right?
And not from the citizens of
the community.
San Francisco. Right.
Yeah, and there is that difference. Yeah, because one comes from.
That would be an interesting other organization to have, though. One that came from the people.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's what Terra Prime is.
Because obviously now with Terra Prime, like I said, they can be compared to another group of people who shall remain nameless because this is going to YouTube and I don't want to shut us down. But but as far as Black Panthers coming from a community based and Section 31 coming from a Starfleet base, Starfleet, not Federation, but Starfleet head, it seems like they have a lot of comparisons to it as far as obtaining information.
Okay, so I was gonna let it go. So what we learned,
here we go.
what we learned in Deep Space Nine from Sloan, at least in the DS9 era, is that Section 31 is cell based, and what that basically means, it's a cell, right? This cell acts independent of another cell, and so they don't necessarily know what each other is doing. So they're all working on specific tasks, and none of them knows what the other group is doing.
Right.
So it's not necessarily top down. I mean, it could kind of sort of be, but we also learned from Sloan that there's no headquarters. So it's people who have knowledge, and they're exchanging that knowledge, and they're sending that knowledge in specific places so that these cells can affect whatever change that they're looking for.
I would say that they know what Starfleet is doing all the time. Starfleet doesn't necessarily know what they're doing all the time.
They know what Starfleet is doing. They know what the Federation is doing.
Are they really cell-based? Because Sloan had vast knowledge about all of them.
Yes, he did. Yes, he had a whole lot of information, and yet he could have been lying, but I don't think he would have lied to Bashir
at that moment. He was dying.
Yeah. So They're cell based.
They are
They're
cell
cell based.
based. Would you say they're cell based like in their own unique way, or something similar to what the Bajorans did during the occupation?
Okay, so this is what I'm going to say. I don't know what the television show is going to end up doing as it relates to that, but based upon what Sloan said, what I'm thinking is it's more like what the Bajorans did.
Okay.
Okay, which is why there might be a considerable difference between Harris and Sloan, even besides
Could
the
be.
besides the 200-year gap.
To me that's the only difference, because I'm thinking Section 31 wasn't like because he was so cloak and dagger all in the in the corners and trying not to be seen. I don't think that Section 31 was as firm of an organization in the past,
I mean,
in
yeah.
Enterprise's days, as it is in the future, because by the time they surfaced in DS9, he didn't care. You could tell. I don't care.
I think that after the situation was controlled, I think that Section 31, for the most part, was dissolved and wasn't really around for like 100 years. And so when you get back to DS9, I think that's on a comeback. I think that it sort of muddled around for a while. It didn't completely die out, but I think what it was sort of died out until it comes back, and then everybody's like, "What?" Some people probably forgot about almost everything that happened, but
Maybe that's what the show was about.
I think it ended up growing again during that time in the Dominion War.
All I know is each season better be a different era that Michelle jumps to. And like the first one better be Enterprise. It better be Enterprise. The end, because we already covered Discovery. We already did that. Okay, we did that. Then next one is Strange New Worlds. Then we got TOS. Then we got the Next Generation with the cloaking ship with Riker and the Admiral. And
Strange New Worlds. I don't think they're gonna touch Strange New Worlds.
Oh, they're gonna touch it, baby. They gonna be all up in it, because we need to know what happened to them after Control literally nearly Borg swiped them. Okay.
I think at most is gonna be like an episode, maybe a good part of an episode, a little part of another episode.
I'm telling you, they go back and get Christopher Pike and they make him a Section 31 agent. I'm telling you.
In his wheelchair?
In his wheelchair, and his freaking wheelchair, and they're going to leave a hologram of him behind, and they're going to bring his actual body, heal him in some way. I stand by that. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yes.
No. It blinked once or twice.
Jermaine?
Yes.
Go
no.
ahead.
That's all he says. Yes.
Go
no.
ahead.
Go ahead. Well, look, I don't know how we are on time. This particular show was only supposed to be about 30 minutes. I think we went over the 30-minute mark.
We did it.
I think
we're at 30 minutes?
Yeah 39.
39 minutes. All right. So we've covered a lot about Section 31. This ends our episode of Section 31. Next week, we are going to provide you with additional content about Section 31. Things change just a bit because we're moving away from Enterprise, because next time we will specifically explore the movie Star Trek Into Darkness. Yeah. Please like, follow, subscribe, add, comment, and share to stay delighted in Trek. As always, I'm Jermaine Watson. And remember, fortune favors the bold. Go boldly. Thank you for listening and watching Trekkers Delight. May you have peace and long life.
Bye.
What's up, guys? My name is William Walker with LGB Trek. I'm finna arm wrestle my brother-in-law real quick. Last minute stuff, a lot of tequila's behind this. I'm not, he is. But we're about to talk about some Star Trek TNG, mainly the host, where we started to question Beverly Crusher's sexuality and how weird the episode is in general because they didn't have enough money to make trails. But right now, I'm gonna bring my brother-in-law in here, who's up here for the ring to go against me. Let's do
Not
this.
ready at all.
Welcome to Trekker's Delight, baby.
Wait,
We're
I need
finna
to
do
see.
this.
I need to fucking see.
You
All right,
see?
cool. Let's go.
A lot.
Okay.
Dude.
Okay. Okay, we're doing it.
I gotta tell you, on the list of things I expected for this evening, this was not on it. This is not on it.
Wait, what's
At
that?
How do you sit in there? You have to sit right there.
Wait, I'm gonna move the table.
That's a lot of work.
God damn.
Okay, let's do this.